Good morning, everyone. I propose that we start an exciting discussion and event. My name is Lina Mahi. I'm working at the World Health Organization Department of Nutrition and Food Safety. Welcome to this event on a call to action for the Health Ministerial. We need healthy diets for healthy people and planet. So I'll be your moderator, and I hope that I won't talk too much because we have very exciting speakers and panel members from different groups. And that's what we need if we want to make sure that our voice on healthy diets is heard at this conference. For the moment, it's better. And so let's hear from our speakers. And I first would like to give the floor to our Assistant Director General from WHO, Dr. Ailan Lee, who is here with us. She just arrived, but she really wanted to be here, and she did a great effort to come here. So please, Dr. Lee, for your welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lina. Good morning, everyone. I think we all are managing our logistic challenge to come together. Congratulations. So I'm here as well. Dear colleagues and friends, it's really my great pleasure to welcome you all for this event, because we would like to show the connection between food and health and climate. So if our current food production and consumer pattern and trends continue, SDG related to health and environment will not be met. We need to change this course of action. So basically we're off track. So we really have to catch up. All of us gathered here today are already champions, advocating for healthy diet, for healthy people and a healthy planet. I hope I'm one of your champions for healthy diet in the future, because it affects everyone, right? Every family and everywhere. As such, we have a huge responsibility to call for action to policymakers, climate negotiators, the consumers, of course, communities, to shift towards healthier and sustainable diet that are also more plant-based. By the way, I love plant-based diet myself. In fact, shifting towards more plant-based, healthy, and sustainable diets is an excellent example of a win-win situation. It reduces the impact on environment, mitigate climate change, and improve the nutrition status of our people. So last year at COP27, the government of Egypt, joined together with WHO and the partners, launched the initiative on climate action and nutrition. We call I-10. I love it. Maybe from I can to we can together. Yes. This initiative provides us with a platform for opportunities to advance joint action on climate and nutrition. In line with this, tomorrow, very excited in the history of the COP, we will have a first ever health day in this history to take place. But as we often said, this is just a new beginning. Health Day itself, just a new beginning of a long journey for the future. The Ministerial Declaration on Climate and Health will be launched tomorrow as well, including acknowledgement of benefit of shifting towards more sustainable, healthy diet. By the way, I met some of you, and I'm very grateful your home country also endorsed this. The declaration has been signed by multiple member states, and we need more countries to endorse it. I hope everyone and everywhere. That is why I have two asks for you, very simple today. First, we need by everyone to join this movement of healthy diet for healthy planet, healthy future. We must encourage everyone from policymakers to public health professions, youth, faith-based organizations, indigenous population, and the consumers, of course. How we can inspire people, motivate people to go with a healthy diet is a big question. I think we believe we can do better. Second, we need to continue to work together to advance our partnership. You know, the partnership, so important, have everyone to be in this movement. So only through collective action, we can ensure healthy diet from sustainable food system for all. I'm very glad to see so many different voices will be heard today to share your experience. Yeah, I was sitting there quiet to listen for a while and maybe go out for other event. To conclude, let me reaffirm WHO commitment to addressing climate change and food systems as the critical elements to create healthy population. By the way, for your information, WHO is in the process of developing a new global strategy, new global health agenda. We call through the general program of work. Definitely my commitment to make sure our nutrition, food safety and healthy diet will be very well reflected as our priority for coming years to go. Joint action on climate and nutrition is along with our pledge to advance promotion and prevention approach that bring health, well-being, equity for everyone. We have made this one of our priority, as I mentioned, for the future, including through the country-focused approach. I myself work at country level, used to be the WHO representative in Cambodia. I have a colleague here, and I believe in the people in the country, and I believe country-focused work of WHO. So WHO is fully committed to supporting country in building more sustainable food system that deliver healthy diet for all while minimize its impact on climate. So I thank you very much for all the champions today here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee, for your inspiring words. And that's what you ask us to do, to inspire each other and to collaborate. And we hope to really live up to that. Now it's my great pleasure to welcome Lujane Alkopmani to give the welcoming remarks. Lujane is the Global Director of Action. I really like the designation because if you want global action, talk to Lujane. So welcome. We will be looking forward to listening to you. You're also the president of the World Medical Association. So, I mean, very, very good that we have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lina. Esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to stand before you today at this historic COP. Yesterday, Antonio Guterres underscored the criticality of accelerating climate action and upholding countries' commitment. He said something that I actually like. Humanity's fate hangs in the balance. However, the stakes of humanity are already dire, especially when it concerns food. Our diets have become number one killer, the number one cause of ill health and premature adult deaths. 1 in 5 deaths are because of unhealthy diets. And at the same time, 3 billion people cannot afford a healthy diet. Our food systems are not only killing us, but are also killing our planet. They're responsible for more than 1/3 of the total greenhouse gas emissions and the primary driver for the global extinction crisis, environmental degradation, and the loss of biodiversity. There's a recent report that calculated the total collective economic cost of non-communicable diseases, poverty, malnutrition, and environmental change from our food system. And the cost was 10 trillion US dollars annually. 10 trillion. That is 10% of the global GDP. I'm a strong believer, and I hope you believe it as well, that dietary shifts or changing diets sits at the heart and the intersection between climate, health, and biodiversity. It's actually one of the most effective, cost-efficient action that safeguard both people's health and the health of our planet. The IPCC latest report that was just launched this year reiterated the crucial need to, towards plant-based diets to align with the Paris Agreement goals and to safeguard people's health as well as livelihoods. And this transition is quite crucial to meet the Paris Agreement goals. We already knew that. That's not a new information. Around more than 4 years ago, the Lancet Commission emphasized the necessity to have a global transition towards more healthy and sustainable diet, which we call the planetary health diet, to remain within the planetary boundaries, but not in isolation, together with transition towards more sustainable food production practices and slashing the food loss and waste. This shift actually save around 11 million and could prevent around 11 million premature adult deaths. We have a second iteration of the 8th Lancet Commission coming up, which is going to be launched in the early 2025, where the planetary health diet will be updated and will even add a social equity lens. For those of you who doesn't know about the planetary health diet, so it's basically means halving the consumption of meat and sugar and doubling up the consumption of fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and sustainably produced seafood. It's not just the 8th Lancet or the IPCC. Many numerous organizations, including WHO, FAO, UNEP, and many others, emphasize on the urgency on adapting a healthier and more sustainable food consumption pattern to safeguard livelihoods and restore our planets. So it is imperative to say it's not one size that fits all. Such transition needs to fit into the national context, to be context specific, tailored to local traditions and cuisines. For example, in Western societies, we promote increased consumption of fruits and vegetables while reducing the reliance on meats and poor nutrient foods. The dietary shift is the most effective tool for change that is starting right in our plates. But despite of that, yesterday, over 130 nations have signed a historic pledge on sustainable food systems. It's quite inspirational and motivational to see so many countries committing to sustainable and resilient food systems. However, I'm quite disappointed by the absence of any mention on dietary shifts in that document. There is no resilient or sustainable food systems without dietary shifts. So today, I stand in front of you as a concerned medical physician who actually witnessed the health impacts of climate change and our broken food systems. And I call upon you to join me in advocating the centralizing dietary shifts and the inclusion of dietary shifts at the heart of countries' climate actions, as well as health agendas. So let's just continue this advocacy, not just at this COP, but beyond COP and also at the national level. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Lujane, for these very inspiring words. I mean, and that's exactly what also WHO is saying. We need the dietary shift, and it's not just black and white. And just to use this, it's many shades of green and red. That there are context specific to see what it looks like a dietary shift, whether it's a high-income country, a low-income country, pastoralist communities, or an urban environment. So really, thank you very much. And yes, we need to continue to get dietary shifts on the political agenda. It's actually amazing that the need for a healthy and sustainable diet is something that is politically sensitive. It should be a no-brainer. I think now we will have a short video. I'm looking at Lana, and while that video is going to be shown, I will ask our panel members to come up to the stage and get the microphones and stuff like that. Thanks. as food service providers, it's super integral. Get to my household and stuff like that. Right?
Longevity of our work is provided super integral. Longevity of our city, of our people, you contribute to the overall physical
expression, it's cultural expression. They're a part of the job. It's okay. I like to. I can get one person to smile. I can. Job for the day.
part of that is so much to me as an individual.
Yeah. A big city.
Thank
Part of that is so much to me as an individual.
A big city.
Part of that is so much to me as an individual.
there will be this one. So how sweet. So okay. So that was a short icebreaker to see what local action on ensuring availability of healthy diets locally produced looks like, for example, in an urban environment, the city of New York. So now we're going to I hope a very nice interactive panel discussion also with the audience. And we have Shananine Cavillo Ramirez with us. She's Pro-Veg International Youth Board member, but also a climate activist. We have Steve Chu with us from the Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation. We have normally online Marco Tuahene, who is Principal Technical Officer from the Ministry of Health in Ghana, because we also want to hear what's happening really in countries like our ADG said. That's where the action, in fact, happens. And we have Erika Susanto, Director of ESG Data and Research. And I had to look up what ESG stands for. Environment, social, and governance data, right? Yes. So I first would like to ask, and I hope that you can stay concise, 3 minutes, like headline messages. First to Shananine on how do youth and also indigenous peoples and indigenous youth perspectives, how do they connect with our, I would say, fight to transition to more healthier diets, and how could we use and leverage what you are standing for with the fight to get a healthy diet? Over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I believe that we indigenous youth hold so much potential on this fight because we have the duty to protect and to remember all this ancestral knowledge on food systems of our elders, all these traditions that in indigenous communities have been allowing us to stay here now, to be able to be present, because in our region, we have been fed on the traditional knowledge and the traditional ways of preserving and caring for the land that are central on our cosmovision, which is some of this example is the milpa, which is a system that in indigenous communities involves the production of chili, of squash, of corn, and of beans that have been since 10,500 years the core of our nutrition, and that have been also provided the all the strength, along with the weeds and the roots and the seeds that also grow on the hills, are the ones that have provided us with the nutrition, and those nutrition and the nutrition elements that are now being also displaced by the introduction of factory farming, of animal agriculture, of industrial agriculture, that are now, yeah, creating all these diseases in the global south and in Mexico, because right now in Mexico we have like a lot of data of on how many people are having now obesity and other related health issues that are because of the changes on the diet, because we are not used like biologically to have a diet that is centered on meat, because our ancestors had the center of the diet on plants, on these seeds that have always been connected with the environment where we live in. So I believe that it is really important that right now we recover all these recipes. And it's actually what we have been doing like in my community. We want to recover these recipes that are centered on plants that grow on the same land where we live, and that are the ones that also tell our stories, tell our connection with the environment and the land where we live in. So yeah, I believe that it is this in this role where we can still fight for. And even in our organization in Mexico, which is Legado Gaia, we are also trying to preserve the ways of the milpa and the ways in which we can create even these agroecological systems in the cities, like we saw in the video. We are also able to produce all these if we like get back on these communal and community like networks. And yeah, I believe that that is the need, that we have to keep preserving all this knowledge on plant-based food systems that are ancestral.
Thank you very much, Shananina. I mean, what I hear is really that your traditional diets, they were so diverse, and diversity is good for health, but it's also good for resilience of food systems. So again, this is showing the win-win. It also makes me think. You say, oh, we are now kind of forced to eat meat, whereas before it was more plant-based. And then I'm always thinking of like what industry say, oh, we are just listening to consumers and we just provide what consumers want. And like, where's the pull and where's the push in that, Or so I think maybe we can also comment later on that. So let me now go to Erika. And I would like to, first of all, if in one sentence you can explain what your organization is, FAIR. I'm a nutritionist and I would not automatically know FAIR. We all live in our and work in our silos, so it would be nice to do so. And then I have the same type of question like with Sananine, like for private sector and investors, how can we kind of bring them aboard our ship that sails towards dietary transition? Over to you.
Thank you. Hi, I guess I can start by explaining a little bit about ESG, and it's if you haven't heard that before, it's essentially the word sustainability in the finance world. It's just an acronym for environment, social, and governance. But in one sentence, I'm going to try to do this. The FAIR Initiative, we are a non-profit investor network, and our mission is to utilize the capital market to shift towards a more sustainable food systems. And so what we do is we provide research and we facilitate our investor members in engaging with different stakeholders to make this happen. And on your second question, on how I guess the private sector can contribute and how they have been contributing. I'm going to highlight two areas, perhaps. The first one is around presenting their voice as a stakeholder to regulators and policymakers. And I'm going to cite as an example how we facilitated an investor letter that a group of our FAIR members have sort of called for a global roadmap for the food systems. And they do want a roadmap similar to the energy one that the IEA has written, because it actually helps facilitate and highlight the action areas that are that needs to be prioritized when they are reallocating finance as well as capital. And this, they would like a clearer roadmap for that to happen. And so that, and on the second point, I guess on a day-to-day basis, what our investor members do is act as a responsible steward of asset. And what that means is they do engage with the companies and their portfolios. And I'm going to use as an example, one of the engagements that we facilitate is dialogues with food companies, consumer-facing food companies. So this would be the Tesco, Amazon, Walmart, on protein diversification. And the particular ask that our investors would be asking them is towards a transition towards a more planetary health supportive products, right? And this would include asking them, how much capital are you allocating for development of products that are both nutritional and sustainable, as well as how much effort are you putting in educating consumers on the benefits of consuming these products that are more nutritious and also sustainable. So both balancing the health objective as well as the planetary objectives. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much for these comments. And yeah, I mean, we all know it. Money makes the world go around, and where maybe WHO can call on the moral grounds and like the science to ask for a change. Investors might be much more powerful if they talk to food companies and say, look, you need to change, otherwise no more investment. I think it just makes sense to do so. I mean, just to clarify, when you say that we present the voice of private sector for better policies, how do you deal with the conflict of interest? Because we say policies making should be free from conflict of interest. So any comments on that?
Yes. So as an organization, we do feel that it's very important to support any research, any recommendation. We don't actually provide investment recommendations, just to be clear. What we do is we help put forth, science-based research in front of investors. So the Eat Lancet study, the WHO journal studies, and anything that would support the asks that we recommend during these engagement dialogues, the questions. I'm just going to give you a very specific example. I think when the ask around guidance on nutrition guidelines that these companies are putting forth, not only do we the investors ask about what policies you have, but the details within that policy and guidelines need to actually align with the WHO recommendations, right? And that's sort of how we try to bridge that knowledge gap. Sometimes devil is in the details.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Indeed, the devil is in the details. I understand that Mark from Ghana cannot join us, so I apologize for that. He was supposed to be here in person, but then there were some problems with his trip. So I hope he listens. And Mark, we need you here anyway. So let me now go to Steve, because you're also representing a faith-based organization, and I've always been very, very much impressed, like in the process of the Food System Summit, that faith-based organizations had such a strong call that was so much aligned also with what WHO is promoting. And I think you needed to have a much stronger voice. We need the policy package, but we also need the consumers, the people to change. And so we need the behavioral change. And so how are you working on that area of bringing, implementing the policy packages and by convincing the people? Over to you.
Thanks, Lena. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is gonna work, so I'm gonna try to put it on easy. I was afraid it would be a little loud. Oh no, It's pretty loud. Maybe now just use your chat, probably. Is this better? Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Sorry about that. So I think in terms of I love this question because at the end of the day, like policies can just be words on paper until they're really brought into life, right? And we find that life in community, we find that life in the richness of our interactions with each other. And I think a lot of that is governed by how we value each other, how we value like community, and what's like a origination of value, who drives value change, culture change. Oftentimes that is faith-based organizations. So aside from representing Buddhist Decision Foundation, we participate in this coalition called the Faith and Food Coalition, where in the lead up to the Food System Summit, we had this whole consultation process where like let's draw out the wisdom of these different faith-based organizations and really look at what are the values that are grounded in how they work with food systems and transform food systems, and how is that taking us towards a place that is maybe closer to the envisioned wholeness of healthy, nutritious diets. Right. And I think this question, as we come to COP28, like the ADG spoke about how we're kind of veering off track. Right. And I think we have to ask that question of like, why are we off track and what is at the root of this off trackness, right? Otherwise, we fall prey to this idea of like trying to create technical solves for a surface level issue while still ignoring this deeply rooted challenge, right? And for us as faith-based organizations, we really see that values lie at the heart of the problem. What we value has kind of shifted over the past 1,000 years. We've gone from this indigenous relationship with food, with the planet, where we see it as a caretaker, to now seeing the planet as a resource, something to take from and to extract from in order to grow, to meet the demands of this moment, right? And I think this puts us in this like little vicious cycle where we're constantly taking, we see our relationship deteriorating, our health is deteriorating, and we keep asking like, are there better pills that I can eat so I can sleep better at night because I'm not getting the microbiomes in my body to like help me sleep well, right? But like all these things, it's like a surface level solve. But if we come to asking that question of what does a better relationship look like with the natural world, what does a better relationship look like with the people who work in these food systems, I think we can really glean wisdom from faith-based organizations, right? I think universally across these interfaith groups, we see that there's this emphasis on coexistence and interdependence, right? And in this moment of interdependence, we start to recognize that a lot of this is speaking to the impending transition that is coming, right? When we talk about food systems transformation, we're also talking about a transition for those who are currently operating in a system who may feel like, oh, they've drawn the wrong deck of cards, right? For the longest time, I've been a part of animal agriculture and like it's been providing for me and my family. And now people are telling me that this is damaging and hurting the planet, but I have no way out, right? And that like that sense of despair can seem to sink in because now they're excluded from the future that we're imagining as a collective society that is healthier, right? And so as we think about that transition, one of the ways in which faith-based groups are working is really helping those who are in the system of food systems work through that transition, investing in their chain from production methods that we may see as unsustainable and really shifting them towards better and brighter futures, right? And I think that all comes back to this framing of are we individuals on this planet or are we a community, right? And I think faith-based groups really emphasize this notion of communalism, right? It's a food system. It's not about just the individual eating food. There's this whole ecosystem that is like we're part of. And in that communalness, we have to recognize that like the well-being of each and every one of us is deeply intertwined. And until we care for the most vulnerable, nothing will really be sustainable.
Thank you for that, Steve. But like, just hold the microphone. Like, concretely, I understand, for example, that the Tsushi Foundation works with hospitals. Concretely, are you working in hospitals to even like also there
Yeah.
do the dietary shift? Can you give an example?
For sure. Yeah. No, I got so swept in the J part, I forgot about the example part. So yeah, it's really about building enabling environments, right? And so when we speak to the change, we can talk about it conceptually and theoretically, but when we start to like ask that question of, well, what does that look like? I think we have to be the ones to kind of like step into that space and say, let us show you how that works. So Tsuji runs 8 hospitals, and then within those hospitals, they're all plant-based, right? Because we believe not only do like the plant-based food systems lead to a reduction of NCDs, it's better health, and it allows for like better patient recovery. But this whole process is shown to the people coming into the hospitals. It's not just the food that the patients are eating, it's the food that is being served at the local cafeteria for the families. They're being shown this model of how delicious food can be, right? We know the dangers of like if we want to switch to a plant-based diet and the food isn't great, like there can be such a lashback to that that you're like, well, you're taking away something that I love that is delicious, and you're feeding me something that is terrible. Right. And so we within our hospitals, we really strive to the utmost degree to not only create delicious plant-based foods that are like nutritionally whole, but that are an experience that people who are coming to our hospitals aren't coming because they're there to see like a doctor. They just want to eat the good food that is there. Right. So like that sense of like creating an experience, I think is important. And then similarly, I think it's also an opportunity for education, right? So we don't just do this within our hospitals, we do these in our community centers where we're cooking free food for people that are plant-based. And it's really about giving them an experience of delicious food so that they have this like kind of inkling of a seed that is planted in their hearts of like, I know that I can come here for food that may be a little different from what I'm used to, but experiencing it and knowing how healthy it is like a whole new lens. And we do that in schools as well, where the children, as they're going through our school system, are able to access free plant-based foods because it gives them that ability to kind of create a new relationship, especially when you're younger, with a better and healthier diet.
Thank you so much for giving those examples. So I'm just watching time. So we do have closing remarks, but I also want to open the floor for if you have questions to the panelists. You see, we're very diverse, and that's what nutrition is all about, because nutrition is culture, nutrition is faith, nutrition is finance, nutrition is politics. It's so much, and we all need to come together and give that message. So I'm just looking if there is anyone who wants to ask a question or give a comment. Please raise your hand. Yeah, a comment is fine as well. So can I just, yeah. Oh, do you want to comment? Oh, you're saying hi. Hi again. Okay. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Dr. Lim from Tzu Hospital. Yeah, we provide a whole plant-based diet, and we publish papers how plant-based diet can improve the health and also even reduce the medical expenditure. Yeah, like 17%, 25%. So medicine is very expensive, right? Yeah. So if we adopt plant-based diet, not only good for health, but also for the planet, even reduce the medical expenditure.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for the health system to save. Yeah.
Actually, we asked our national health insurance to say that we should cut down the premium of our patients adopt plant-based diet, but they say no.
Thank you.
Leighton Barnish, Morrow Sodali. You mentioned in your earlier remarks the absurdity of there being a political conversation around moving to a healthier and more nutritional diet system. What are some of those political drivers? What are the thorny political issues? Is it cost? Is it cost? Is it successful lobbying? Is it food security? Why is there resistance?
Normally a moderator, I should just moderate. Let me already give the microphone because I have one here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, this all, again, this has to do a lot with economy as well, and being scared that certain products will not find a market or there will be reduction in selling them. So that makes people scared. Like, yeah, it's mostly economy. I was in the previous event here about methane reduction and how that is like a commitment but is not being implemented. And there was a farmer there saying, look, you make us, you will take away our income. Again, it's many shades of red and green. It's not that we are being like radicalists as we are being labeled. It's about trying to make sure that people and planetary health is central. People before profit. And Others look at it at profit before people. So that's like the short summary of why it is so political to promote healthy diets. We're happy that now, like Jane said, that now food systems transformation is in the conversation and linked to climate, but we're still a way off to also getting dietary transition into the conversation, although the IPCC really mentioned it and it's the most impactful. So yeah, we can discuss further offline.
I think if I can also come in real quick about the absurdity of it, part of it also relies on this like vision of what success looks like, right? The Western ideal of like what a Western diet is, and that becomes marketed as this envisioned like embodiment of success, right? As you go from developed to developing, you see an uptick in meat as like increasing in portion and part of the size of the plate. And so part of the challenge that we're operating in and like really trying to transform is what is the culture of what we envision as success? What is the culture of like a good diet? And like how is that being shared with people in a way where you're saying it's not about what's being served on the plate that makes you a successful person. It's about the health of your being and your ability to actually live out a long, healthy life that is indicative of success. But that takes a lot of like time and energy to change that culture. And so to that extent, I think it's why we need the diversity of actors, right? We need private sector to be on board. We need faith-based groups to really come in and share these angles to change that culture because we are all like part of the creation of that culture. And until we unlearn and create that new future together, I think we're going to face that sort of resistance at both a political, personal, and like interrelational level.
Thank you so much for that, Steve. Okay, one more question. Oh, we have, and then we'll have to move to the closing remarks.
Thank you very much to all the panelists. It's been delightful to hear you. I just wondered what your views are on what we collectively need to do to advance nutrition and healthy, sustainable diets as an agenda between now and COP 2030, which we should all be thinking about right now. Thanks.
Who are you?
Oh, sorry, Joanna Truan, Head of Research at Provid.
Thank you. You want to?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So maybe my answer will come slightly from the investment angle. And obviously when we talk to investors, they are deeply interested in the opportunities, right? And that would be one of them is alternative protein, for instance, and other related food technologies that support that. Now, I think on that part, there is already a lot of actors that we believe can play a role in educating, again, the details that revolve around what are the implications of, for instance, traditional meat substitution with plant-based, which will include some level of potentially necessary fortification and so on. So I'm just going to encourage that the different stakeholder groups continue engaging with each other and engage with the private market as well, because they do have a role to play.
Yes, I also wanted to add something, and it goes on the line of what Lina was saying about finance and profit, because I do believe that one of the major barriers is like the interests that are behind this not shifting to plant-based diet, because the World Development Bank still invests so much of their money on factory farming and on animal agriculture. And I think that if we're going to create this loss and damage fund, if we want to create this transition of food systems on healthy persons and diets in Latin America and in Mexico, we don't need all these reparations in finance, because otherwise, yeah, everything is going to keep preserving the profit before people, but actually we don't need to shift. If we want to keep the healthy planet and a healthy community, we don't need to stop all this financing of animal agriculture and factory farming.
And I'll just quickly say, in line with everything that's been shared so far, layering on top of that, invest in potlucking. Like, I think there's something about exemplifying this change that we want to see, and how like bringing people together really has power to it, right? And what better way to bring people together around a healthy, nutritious diet than to eat that food together and share those meals. So when you're negotiating and you're advocating with policymakers, with local politicians, like it's one thing to do it in the cold confines of an office. It's a whole other thing to do it in a backyard in a park that's super cute, and you all bring like your vision of a healthy, nutritious meal. And I think even like having that experience together with people really ties us together.
Yeah. And just to add as well, I mean, talk here to the delegations and tell them it's not just about agriculture, it's not just about food production, it's the entire food system, which includes also the consumption part that we need to do and need to address. That's a holistic food systems approach. And part of that is the shift to healthy and sustainable diets, so that the health part needs to be really connected with the sustainability part. And this is an excellent venue to do so. But many people are not yet familiar with that. Do you still want to ask a question? Okay, last question, and then we'll do.
I just like to add on. My name is Mei from Buddhist Foundation, and it's a very nice event. And I would like to encourage, when possible, that we can have more research on healthy diet, because to be able to combine that, how can we shift the whole dietary change? It is important that we have support from research. And like 30 years ago, maybe smoking is still allowed at that time, but after we have found out that it's not only harmful for the smokers, but also for the people who smoke in. So it is important that we keep working on to have more research and more cooperating with hospital and physicians, that we should able to reach our goals faster and faster. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that the implementation research could still be strengthened, but I think also research on the other side, like the unhealthy diet, is important. And there a lot of research and data and results are coming now with different academic groups on the role, for example, of ultra-processed foods. That has a strong link. But I don't go into that at the end of this session now, otherwise we have another one. So I would like to thank the panelists for your good thoughts sharing. And I would like now to go to the closing remarks from Irene Silibi, Passion in World Farming.
Great, thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I've just arrived 5 hours ago. And I have to say that this is a fascinating conversation. It was a fascinating conversation, and I've managed to follow it despite the fact that I'm completely, so bear with me. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, excuse me, to say a few words in the close of the session. Thank you to the World Health Organization for bringing us all together. Listening to all the speakers and panelists, I can only hope that your experience and your knowledge can be reflected in tomorrow's first ever COP Health Day. And I hope it's heard by the ministers. As the direct linkages between climate change, human, animal, and planetary health become ever so urgent and clearer day by day, I very much hope tomorrow that in this first climate health ministerial meeting, we'll have a declaration that will help us, will guide us basically to take action in terms of climate change, but also deliver a healthier future for all. Now, by now, it must be increasingly clear to everybody in the room and outside the room that many of the diets we currently enjoy, many of us, and aspire to, are neither healthy nor sustainable. And they're not diversified either. So the declaration that will come out of tomorrow's meeting should recognize that the action needed to reduce emissions must include an urgent and a global shift to sustainable and healthy diets. It's also, however, critically important to recognize that such a shift can be cannot be just about what we consume, but also addressing how we produce what we consume. So what we need really is a just global food system transformation that looks at both ends, looks at the way we produce, we trade, and consume food. So when we speak about real and just global food system transformation, there's a couple of critical points that I wanted to bring here today. First of all, the global narrative needs to shift from food security to nutrition security. The global food crisis cannot just be about hunger. It needs to be about addressing other aspects of all aspects of malnutrition, including the overconsumption and over-reliance of animal protein in certain regions and populations of the world. And then the second point that I want to bring today is the issue of the production of animal source foods. With the industrial systems of livestock production, which rely heavily on inhumane use of animals, have been identified by reputable bodies in the UN, such as IBES, IPCC, World Health Organization, I can go on and on and on, as being the dominant driver of harm to nature over the past 50 years. Any real and just transformation of the food system must include the promotion and delivery of high animal welfare practices. Production systems of high animal welfare practices are actually a core requirement when we talk about animal source foods. And let me finish by saying this. The Committee of World Food Security has recommended that animal health and animal welfare must be improved in all livestock systems and are an essential requirement in sustainably increasing the productivity of the livestock industry, but also securing food quality and food safety. A couple of years ago, the United Nations Environment Assembly openly acknowledged at UNEA 5 the direct and crucial benefits of enhancing animal welfare in order to address climate change, sustainable development, and One Health. What am I trying to say here? Animal welfare is not just a nice to have when it comes to producing livestock. It's actually not a technical niche. It's actually a critical and essential element of the global transformation we need to see. So my last line, and I will leave you to this, is this has been an amazing event, and thank you so much, is we need to pressure our governments to find a way to help us eat less animals, more plants, and promote better systems at the same time. So thank you so much, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope that the conversation will continue, and it was nice having you here.